Hello, my name is Owen Milford. I am the Deputy Head for Creative Arts at Wiltshire College for the Trowbridge campus. I'm also the course lead for television and film production, and I oversee the creative media area within my role. So I'm here today to talk to you about the courses we run with creative media production technology. We run 3 levels at the Trowbridge campus. Level 1 in art design and media, which is a 1-year course. Level 2 in creative media production technology, which is another 1-year course. And then we run a 2-year course, which is our level 3 diploma and extended diploma in creative media production technology, which is a 2-year course and splits into 2 pathways: television and film and games development. So I'm specifically going to talk to you today about the level 2 in creative media and the level 3 in TV and film. You can find information on the other 2 courses at talks or by requesting with our info at wiltshire.ac.uk. So I'm going to start off going through the television and the film course. So it's a 2-year vocational qualification, and what that means is it's all about teaching you the actual skills you'll need in the industry. So rather than an academic course such as A levels, we're very much about hands-on making and getting those specific skills if you want to work in not just the television and film industry, but in video production as a whole. So that might be online content creation, so things like Vimeo and YouTube. That might be live events. That might be traditional television and film. It could be advertising, etc. So what do we actually teach? Well, we teach technical skills as a priority. So that is single camera production. So what that means is those are the kind of things you're going to be seeing in big budget films, big budget TV shows, all around one camera, big sets, lots going on, big teams, big crews. So we teach you those skills. We also do multi-camera production. So that's live broadcasting. So that can be news, game shows, podcasts, live music, sports. We'll teach you how to edit, which is a massively important part of film production. And alongside that, we then extend that into motion graphics and special effects work. We also teach you the essential things like script writing, how to plan, how to budget effectively. So no matter whether you want to go into independent filmmaking or work for a larger company, you're skilled up for those kind of with those tools. Alongside that, we also find time to do some animation and bring in all those things together is the need for good sound. So we do focus on sound production as well, with both recording and creating our own audio. Within all that, you do have a need for some academic work, which is analytical skills, such as understanding the language of the media, so how visual communication works in television and film, how you can inform audiences about your meaning and choices, and then also understanding those audiences. So the reality is, in media, we need to make money, we need to sell to audiences. So to do that, we need to understand them. So understanding audiences and fitting their needs is a big part of that. And then that also weighs heavily into any promotional video or advertising work we do. With all those elements, they all require research. So any creative process requires research. Ideas don't just come out of nowhere. They're built on top of the ideas of others and through extending investigation. So really, we focus as well on really developing students' research skills. And a good way to think of that is the idea of finding as much information to be inspired from as possible to help create your products. So research does actually count as watching films, watching television shows, which is quite a nice thing. We also deliver industry knowledge, so what job roles are in the industry, how to get into the industry. We go to lots of event fairs and job fairs in a normal scenario, and really getting students to understand where their career paths could lie, because the industry is very, very large and it has lots of different skill sets and options for development. Throughout that, then, you'll be developing a portfolio. So students develop a portfolio from day one. That works towards giving them their grade for the year, but it also allows them to gather information and document their progress and process, which can then be shown to employers, to universities for interviews, to apprenticeships for applications. So there's always that process of learning being displayed. And bringing all that together again is professional practice. So you need to work professionally, you need to understand the industry. It's about moving away from the idea of school and education to something a bit more job-based. So to get onto the TV and film course, you need 4 fours at GCSE. Preferably, we like maths and English to be done. However, that's not an essential. Really, we would be looking for one or the other. If not, then it might be a discussion around an exceptional entry, but we can still have that possibility. a priority for us on the course would definitely be the English, in the sense that you will still need to be analysing and being able to communicate either through speech or through written work. So, what do we actually make? What do we do on the TV and film course? Well, we make lots. Okay, we're all about making. It's about making as much as you can all the time. So we make music videos, we make genre shorts, so we make sci-fi, we make horrors, we make comedies. We look at documentary and informational content. We do animation, we make game shows, we do podcasts, we film live events at our theatre. We do advertising and promotional video work, and we work with live briefs. So we have clients come in and give us work. So we're working for a client to get used to working in the industry. So because of that, the reason for that rather is we want you to have as much experience making as possible. You don't become a good filmmaker without making films. So the more you make, the more you practice, the better you become. It's like any other discipline. It's all about practice, experimentation, and reflection. So you learn the skills, you practice them, you reflect on them, and you develop from there. So how we actually go about teaching this then is the course is separated down into 13 units over 2 years. In the first year, there's 8 units. In the second year, there are 5 units. So in the first year, the first 4 units are all about skill building. Now, they've got long, complicated names, but essentially what we're doing is we're teaching you how to come up with creative ideas, how to plan and produce them, how to pre-produce them with documentation that's suitable for the industry. So it shows processes like storyboarding, script writing. We teach you the essential camera skills you're going to need to know. So we frame them as cinematography and mise en scène. We also then develop your editing skills, so post-production and reflection. So media processes and technical skills is all about developing all of those things. Design and research skills about developing research. Professional practice, working in a crew, understanding the industry, and critical and contextual awareness, understanding some of the outside elements that will affect the film or television show or video content's production. So how we teach that is the first 7 weeks, we go hell to leather, doing a video per week of an episode of a crime drama. So right from the beginning, on day 1, you get a script, and we take you out and you're filming on your first day. And then you're editing on your second. And then we repeat that process on a week-to-week basis. So you're making content and you're experimenting, you're developing straight away. And by the time you reach the first 7 weeks, you've got probably about half an hour series of a crime drama that you've made. We also then do script writing, so we experiment and do a lot of research around that. So we interview people, we do research into contextual elements that will inspire that script. And then moving on from there, we go into more specialist units such as audio, video, visual, and interactive. So with those units, that's when we start to do genre films, and we do multi-camera production. So for units 5 and 6, what we're currently doing is horror. That can change to different genres from year to year, but essentially it's the same process of developing a longer form development for a film festival. So that brings in sound and it brings in visual elements. So we start to make more concentrated content that you yourself are the driving force behind, deciding the narratives, for example, deciding the structure and pacing. And then also we do multi-camera, so we do live broadcasting. That can take the form of live events, or it can take the form of live podcasting, or it can take the form of live game shows. Finally, then that leads us to Unit 8, which is a final unit where the student chooses what they want to develop as a product and then take that forward throughout the entire creative process with the support of staff. And Unit 8 is actually where the grade for the year comes from. So every other unit is pass or fail up to that point, and then Unit 8 will be graded and give the grade for the first year. And then similarly, you can see there's Unit 13 separate on the second year, and that grade comes from there. That then gives the students gives you the opportunity to develop your own product that you're interested in. So it might be that you want to go and do a documentary, or you want to go and do a music video, and through all the units we've done prior, you will be skilled up effectively to make that content. I won't talk too much about year two at the moment, but generally it tends to fit into working with a client brief for engaging with audience, working within a genre for characteristics and context. Preparing for progression is all about thinking about what the next steps are, which is apprenticeships, work, or uh, going off to university. And Unit 12 is a special study that leads into the final project. So, how do we go about really focusing on these things? So, with us, the emphasis is on process as opposed to the end result. So, we're looking at the idea of context, we're looking at research, problem solving, planning production, practical skills, evaluation, reflection, presentation as the core abilities of students on the course. So, in terms of final product, the final product may or may not be as successful as always intended. However, if the processes are correct and reflected upon, you should end up with a successful product. Or if something went wrong, it will be documented in that. So we're really about building those skills for the students, about you understanding what you're making, how to make it, how to fix things as you go, how to be creative in your development, and how to plan effectively with others, and how to use practical skills and develop practical skills. So the ethos, again, is just to repeat, is all about that process. So it's different from school where it'd be very much about this endpoint assessment, so an exam at the end of the year. Rather, it's about demonstrating all these skills throughout the year to develop and then achieve in the final unit. So the timetable then works out at about 12.5 hours per week contact time. So that's in-class time with your lecturers. Alongside that, we have an hour tutorial time, which is where there's kind of check-in and external well-being elements and information about other things going on in the college. If you haven't achieved a C in maths and English, then you would be looking at doing between 3 to 5 hours per week of maths and English. That breaks down, if it's only one or the other, then you half it. And it depends whether you need to do GCSEs or functional skills. So if you maybe ended up with a 2 on a GCSE for maths, then it might be you actually do functional skills rather than going straight back into GCSE, which is a slightly different course. So depending on what it will be, functional skills are an hour and a half, and then GCSE is 2.5 hours. So, for example, if you needed to do both English and maths, it'd be 5 hours. If you needed to do just one functional skills, it would only be 1.5 hours a week. Alongside that, then it's really important that the course is a full-time course and there is an expectation of external study time or independent study time. So we look for students to be doing about 10 to 15 hours a week external study time, and that can be things like additional research, investigation, experimentation with practical skills, and also reflective journals and vlogging. So that works out, depending on timetabling per year, as 3 to 4 days per week. That can change year to year, but it generally stays at about 3 days in per week on relatively full days. So where can the television and film course lead you? So really we're looking into a progression either to employment, but more traditionally into higher education or into a foundation degree. But the possibilities are very vast. To give you a few examples: film and television production, move into online content production, move into specializing into something like cinematography or sound or editing. Could move into a slightly different field that still uses the same tools like advertising or digital marketing. Or you could go into the more technical side and look at video technology and do some of the more technical elements. Or an academic area such as media studies, film studies, or again, alternatively, into a different course such as social media management. So the tools that are developed in TV film are very widely applicable. And then alongside that, there's lots of skills such as developing communication, developing teamwork, developing organization skills. So really, the course can give a lot of value, no matter if you want to go into the industry or not. But preferably and hopefully you do. And this is a really successful way of getting into the industry. Some students have been successful going straight into industry from the course. I've had some who have gone off to work for Warner Brothers, for example. However, for the most part, most students will be more successful if they go and then specialize at university. And that is generally the progression route that we recommend. We also do various trips throughout the year. In a normal scenario, obviously this year these are not possible at present. However, we do things like going to the Warner Brothers studio, to the Harry Potter tour, going to the Film Museum in London, organising tours with BBC Bristol, and hopefully soon ITV and Channel 4, as they now have hubs in Bristol. And we also have begun doing international trips. So last year we went to, or rather this year, we went to Berlin, and we're looking at possibly going to New York in the future. These are every other year, so if you do the 2 years, you're guaranteed to get an opportunity to go on to one of these trips. And then we also try to go to film festivals when we can. So, for example, the Encounters Film Festival in Bristol that happens in September. So that's the television and film course. And then moving on to the level 2 creative media production course. This one is a 1-year vocational course. So half the time is a level 3. However, this course is much more about students who maybe aren't as quite sure what they want to go into in terms of media production, or want to kind of explore media production for the first time, or maybe didn't quite hit the grades for the level 3 and can then have an opportunity to explore media production at level 2. So with that, we're again all about teaching technical skills, but this time we're looking at the media industry rather than just a specific facet such as television and film. So we still do television and film elements, so we focus heavily on video production, we still do things like advertising, we're still developing editing skills. However, we're also looking at wider things such as games development, graphic design, digital art, a greater focus on animation, and again, sound. We also have analytical skills that we teach. So again, all the things I was talking about before, language of the media, how to communicate visually, how to understand audiences is all still vital, as is research. Again, with level 2, we tend to find that planning and organizational skills are also a big area for development. So we focus a lot on developing those ready, so students are ready for a level 3 progression, which is ideally what we want from a level 2 student. And then also teaching professional behavior. So to get on to the level 2, it requires 4 threes at GCSE. And it is comprised of 8 units, similar process to the television and film course. Unit 1, methods and skills, and Unit 2, production techniques. So all about doing, all about making. So for this, we focus on filmmaking and animation each week. Again, really active, making lots of different things. So each week you'll make a new video and you'll start with something fresh every week. So it's lots of small projects, lots of skill building in the first 7 weeks. Understanding audiences tends to take us up until Christmas. And for that, that's when we start looking at advertising, and that also brings in contextual research. So we're making adverts, we're getting used to cameras, we're getting used to filming. And then we start to go into our specialist units, audio, visual, and interactive. So for them, we're exploring creation of soundscapes with audio design. We look into the history of filmmaking and make a variety of different films. And so again, 1 a week. So it's all about doing, all about portfolio building rather than kind of an end exam. And then exploring interactive, that's when we do games development as well. And that leads us into Unit 8, which is the final project. And at this point, this is where we want students to essentially choose a specialism. So really, after doing those core units, students will probably either want to develop in animation, developing games development, television and film, digital art or graphic design or audio. And with those, then the idea is that pathway will then hopefully lead students onto level 3. So for example, if they did animation or games development, we have a level 3 in games development that would probably suit best to those students. If they did TV and film and video production, then obviously the TV and film course. If they chose digital art and graphic design, then we have a graphics and photography course, or we have our art and design courses. And then additionally, if they chose sound, then we have a music course, but that is at Chippenham at present. Again, it's 100% coursework. There's absolutely no exams for our courses, but that final unit is where the grade comes from at the end of the year. Process, again, is key. It's all about developing these core skills for that process, that creative process to take root. However, level 2, it's a bit less intensive in terms of critical understanding. So really a focus on planning and production. Can you organize and create the products that you need to? Can you research effectively into them? Do you have the practical skills and the ability to present them in a professional way that is easy to understand? And then evaluation and reflection is always key, because reflecting on what went well and how to improve is the best way to develop. So similarly to the level 3 course, We have 3 to 4 days per week. We have the same situation with English and maths of 3 to 5 hours, depending on the grades at GCSE. We tend to have a fair amount of level 2 students who would be doing functional skills rather than GCSE, so it's likely to be more towards the 3 hours a week. And then additionally, we have an hour tutorial. The main difference, though, is there's an hour less contact time, so it's 11.5 hours, but it still works out 3 to 4 days per week. So, with this, then, trips are slightly different for level 2. We focus more on the games development pathways. We tend to have a few more students on that games who prefer the games development elements. So we go to Eurogamer in September, which is a big games convention, which is currently in London, sometimes in Birmingham. And then we go to Res at the end of the year, which is another games convention, but for more independent-based games developers. So if we talk about both courses as a whole now, if we look at the equipment that's available. So we have the Adobe Creative Suite on all our machines in the department. So that includes things like Photoshop, which is image manipulation software, Premiere Pro, which is editing software, After Effects, which is special effects and motion graphics software, and then things like Premiere Rush, which is for quick editing, Lightroom photography, as well, and Animate and Illustrator, so Animate for animation and Illustrator for more illustrative design. In terms of television and film equipment, we film mainly on DSLR cameras because they're light, they're easy to transport, and we get good quality imagery from them, and we have high control over the image itself. We also have Canon XA32s, but used more for our live broadcasting and more for level 3 year 2s because they're at the high-end scale of the kit. We have a wide range of additional sound recording tools and additional what we call kind of grip tools. So we're talking about things like camera tripods, slides, tracks, steady cams, rigs, jibs. So all the things that make the cameras move in interesting ways, as well as things like drones. We have a wide range of lighting setups. So we have LED panel light setups. We have red headlight setups for green screening. And we also have Dado interview kit lighting available for students to use. And that's all also stored within our green screen studio in the Trowbridge campus. So we have a green screen studio that also attaches to a dedicated iMac edit suite for the television and film students, and also to a dedicated workspace classroom for the media students as a whole. And in addition to that, we also have a TriCaster attached to that, which is a broadcast software, so multi-screen live broadcast software that is actually portable, which allows us to take it to live events. In addition to that, in the games development classrooms, we have PCs with Windows i7 processors, NVIDIA GeForce gaming graphic cards, and all the machines have solid-state hard drives and twin monitors. So that's the equipment we got, and it's all there to be taken out as frequently as often and used as frequently as often. Again, going back to what I was saying with television and film, the more you make, the better you'll be. So the more access you have to equipment, the more chance you get to improve. So in terms of assessment then, I said before that the final unit's where the assessment comes from. And that comes out as a pass, merit, or distinction, with distinction being the highest grade achievable. Within that then, although units 1 to 7 for both television, film, and level 2 are at a pass or fail criteria, we do give students constant feedback, or give you constant feedback throughout units on where you are, and then at the end of the unit tell you where you are against the grading criteria for the end of the year, so that you can track and we can track your progress and keep making sure that you're improving and moving towards those higher grades, so that when you get to the final projects, as long as you follow the same path and the same processes you've been doing throughout, and you've known they work, and then trying to improve on them, you can guarantee yourself that you're going to get those higher grades. So that brings me to the end of the presentation. So if there's any questions, you can either pop them in the chat, or alternatively, you can send them through to my email, which is owain.milford@wiltshire.ac.uk. I probably should have put that down on the PowerPoint. But alternatively, you can email either our marketing or info@wiltshire.ac.uk, and then it will come through to me as well. Okay, well, thank you very much for your time. I hope that was informative, and I hope to see some applications coming soon.